Mr. Shimomura Takuya, Chairman of the Asahi Glass Foundation, ladies and gentlemen, I'm most happy to see old friends here at the University of Kyoto, and I'm most privileged to be back. I also see our Bhutanese students in the audience, which makes me particularly happy. So, I'm here for the 2022 Blue Planet Prize commemorative lecture and representing His Majesty, the 4th King of Bhutan. It brings me great honor. Japan, as a great nation, whose people define honor and commitment to quality in whatever you do. We share many values and commonalities, and we are proud to call Japan a close friend. So let me begin today by telling you about what has happened in the last 2.5 years. The world has faced an unprecedented global pandemic that caught most countries off guard and was a stark revelation of many of our weaknesses and strengths. The rapidly changing, technology-driven 21st century presents endless possibilities and opportunities to achieve new feats, and at the same time poses a multitude of unrelenting new challenges to human progress. To cite an example, advances in science and technology made possible the remarkable speed at which vaccines to treat COVID-19 were developed. Yet, due to the slow and fragmented action, infection surged to more than 613 million people worldwide, and the official death toll surpassed 6.53 million this year itself. So now, as we learn to live our lives under the new normal, we now have to brace ourselves for a global economic recession due to the compounding effects of the pandemic. It now becomes more difficult for countries to deliver on the promise of greater prosperity for the people. This, along with contemporary issues facing the world like climate change, poverty, conflict, and violence, once again reminds us of the intersectional and complex nature and the need for collective action by the community, international community, to address them. In Bhutan's case, we sealed our borders and enforced strict measures to keep the onslaught of COVID-19 at bay. As COVID testings and tracings and lockdowns ensued, the government and the people, along with the king, worked tirelessly to put into place systems to mitigate the situation. Sealing our borders affected, as it did, the world over. The economy, trade, tourism, and many lost their jobs and means of livelihood. The government mobilized under His Majesty's compassionate care a relief fund for those affected most and eased the burden of loan repayments and kept the country afloat through these unprecedented and trying times. We truly came together better than we ever had before to safeguard and to help each other. In the wisdom of His Majesty, a program he had initiated in 2011, the Desung, Guardians of Peace, proved to be a game changer for us. This program was developed to encourage citizens towards volunteerism and community service, disaster management, and ultimately to create a community that plays an active role in nation building. Today, out of our population of 700,000, there are 30,311 trained guardians of peace. During the pandemic, the sheer number and dedication of the guardians of peace came as a blessing. And as they volunteered wholeheartedly to assist the overburdened health sector and to help the food supply chain and service sector during the lockdowns, to spend months braving the cold, the heat, the monsoon rains, to guard and patrol our porous borders. As of October, Bhutan has reported 21 deaths and 62,095 infections. The goal was that no lives should be lost, and although Bhutan tried its level best, the incoming waves of the COVID-19 variants and the prolonged time frame were unforgiving. We faced the challenges of being a landlocked country, as imports of goods were in short supply, economic lifelines were cut, and we turned inwards to producing more food and focusing on the goal of self-sufficiency. It became a time of introspection as the flaws within our system came in full view and exposure. The overstretched health sector, a weak economy, a large civil service, the need for education reforms, dependence on foreign workers, and many other issues were put into the spotlight. It was a timely revelation that came as a boon to us, as a clear sign that changes were necessary in order to avert disaster and to build a stronger, a better prepared nation that could tackle and withstand the many challenges of the future. Countries around the world are facing these challenges and now continuing to find solutions and ways out of this global crisis. Out of this, something wonderful came about, and that was the world coming together to help each other. And for a while, the planet Earth saw regeneration, drastic reductions of pollution, and a reorganization of our priorities and values. My talk today is a journey I'd like to take you on. The path less traveled, a story of transformative change, is Bhutan's story. From understanding that Bhutan's growth came by design, that deep values define who we are, and adaptive to change, the many transformations are being planned in preparation for our future. Bhutan's path is marked by the landmark contributions during His Majesty Jigme Singye Wangchuck's reign and the values that were instilled in us that we hold as timeless. During his reign, Bhutan saw great progress, sustainable development, a pristine environment, proactive laws, democracy and our constitution, GNH and good governance. These were all hallmarks. The fourth king conceived GNH in the firm belief that the purpose of development must be at all times to promote the contentment and the well-being of our people. In Bhutan, development was taught best when incorporating all aspects: good governance, social harmony, preservation of our pristine environment, preserving culture and heritage, and safeguarding the security and sovereignty of our country. GNH, therefore, becomes truly meaningful when it is translated into policies and priorities. Long before environmental concerns became a global agenda, the fourth king made the protection and preservation of the environment a national priority. He was among the few world leaders who saw beforehand the increasing pressure that development would exert on the finite planet and our fragile ecosystems. Today, our constitution mandates 60% of our land under forest coverage and entrusts every Bhutanese as a trustee of the environment. His foresight led to Bhutan formulating environment-friendly policies and practices whose benefits we enjoy and showcase to the world today. His Majesty, the fifth king, resolutely carries on this legacy, and Bhutan, with support from international partners, initiated Bhutan for Life, Asia's first project finance model to permanently protect the network of areas that contributes to human well-being and biodiversity conservation. With climate change accelerating the negative impacts on the natural environment, Bhutan remains committed to strong climate actions on the ground through maintaining and climate change into our development plans and garnering robust international cooperation. Our second, nationally determined contributions reaffirm our commitment to remain carbon neutral for all times, and our low-emission development strategies support this commitment. So in full support of the global movement to phase out ozone-depleting substances, Bhutan ratified the Vienna Convention and the protection of ozone layer and the Montreal Protocol in 2004. Since then, Bhutan has committed to phasing out hydrofluorocarbons by 2025, 5 years ahead of the international schedule. But in spite of all our efforts, Bhutan faces multiple challenges and threats from climate change and climate-induced extreme weather affecting the lives and livelihoods of our people. High up in the Himalayas, Bhutan's glaciers are fast retreating, threatening an increased risk of glacial lake outbursts. The biggest fear is that climate change will undo and derail all the socio-economic development gains achieved by a delicate balance of development and environment over several decades by our visionary monarchs and leaders. The interconnectedness of this planet strengthen and sustain our resolve to progress in harmony with the environment. If Bhutan's journey and path inspires others to the right reflection and public policy deliberations, then we are encouraged to try harder and to do better. The fourth king of Bhutan is the author of GNH, Gross National Happiness, the father of Bhutan's constitution and democracy, and above all, the nation's conscience. It could not therefore be more befitting for His Majesty the King, Jigme Khesar Namgyal Wangchuk, to establish Bhutan's first and only law school in the fourth king's name, known as Jigme Singye Wangchu School of Law, JSW Law. In line with this vision of contributing to building a better future for the whole world, I am happy to let you know that JSW Law will launch the Climate Change and Environmental Law Center for Excellence on 21st February 2023. After the launch of the center, a 2-day conference called the Paro Forum will be held on the theme Climate Justice for Happiness. We will be gathering leaders and stakeholders from Bhutan and across the world to share lessons about our experiences and collect global and regional best practices to formulate collective solutions. So please look out for the Paro Forum early next year, and only together we can make a difference in this world. So on September 23rd, we're happy to tell you that Bhutan opened our borders after 2 years of observation and rethinking, with the decision to reintroduce a discerning policy of high-value, low-volume tourism based on the principle of holistic sustainability. The renewed vision for the tourism sector consciously and deliberately places considerations for Bhutan's future and future generations at the forefront. Under the policies laid out by our visionary kings, from the very start of tourism in the 1970s, Bhutan has strived for a path, a road that is less traveled, to a destination that is pristine, exclusive, rich in culture and heritage. And Bhutan's tourism policy is absolutely unique in this world. In fact, our sustainable approach to high value, low volume was a conscious, deliberate, and far-sighted vision. It has become more relevant in the present context, which has forced nations to rethink sustainable development approaches as the new normal. The world around us is changing dramatically. Recurring pandemics, the impacts of climate change, conflicts, make our world volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. If we do not change ourselves, our systems, and upgrade our skills in tandem with these changing times, we will surely lag behind. There are several challenges, but there are also opportunities. Advancements in technology bring about sweeping socioeconomic possibilities. Therefore, it is critical that we seize these opportunities, enhance the capabilities of our people, strengthen the economic governance framework in order to leverage and harness technological skills and ultimately ensure that our children inherit a peaceful and successful nation. So Bhutan is in a period of transition. At the helm of this transition is His Majesty Jigme Khesar Namgyal Wangchuk, who is engineering transformative change with the government and the people of Bhutan. The national resolve is now geared towards how to prepare and to make our people future-proof and future-ready. What has now been set in motion is a dynamic process of nation building, a fundamental rethinking, reform, and restructuring of Bhutan's educational system, civil service, and governance to prepare our people for a resilient future. His Majesty, the King, has emphasized the need for Bhutan to find a niche, to aspire to something different, what others are not doing, and to find our place in this world. So with self-determination and confidence, our country has embarked on defining the course and direction of the country's future. What anchors this transformation is the goal to make Bhutan dependable and trustworthy. In modern times, His Majesty has said that talent is abundant and therefore degrees, qualifications, skill sets are losing their value. There are many who are bright, creative, and ambitious, but in these times what is rare and most needed is trust. In the words of His Majesty, trust is the most expensive currency in this world. Due to the magnanimous leadership of His Majesty the Fourth King, we are currently known all over the world as a dependable nation. Bhutanese are thought to be happy, caring, compassionate, loving, and kind. The country is well known for our values, environmental conservation efforts, and for following the philosophy of gross national happiness. The Fourth King has set the foundation, and now the time has come for Bhutan to learn how to use our good reputation to our advantage. Therefore, the inspiration we seek to navigate the complexities of the 21st century challenges facing Bhutan is manifested in the timeless wisdom of His Majesty Jigme Wangchuk, the Fourth King of Bhutan, referred to as the Great Fourth. And today it continues to be advanced and consolidated by the clear-sighted vision of His Majesty Jigme Khesar Namgyal Wangchuk, the People's King, as he charts transformative changes for a new Bhutan. I would like to convey His Majesty the Fourth King's dedication that this prize is dedicated to the generations of Bhutanese who have given unstinted support and committed to preserving our natural environment, and to individuals and organizations from across the world who have made significant contributions to preserving and being challenged to finding solutions for humankind. The Blue Planet Prize not only recognizes these efforts, it also renews our commitment. May Bhutan serve as an example of a path less traveled by, in consistent acts that build a better and safer world for ourselves and for our children. Thank you, and Tashtile. I would also like to thank Professor Stephen Carpenter and Susan for bearing with me for the second time, and it's a pleasure to know you. Thank you.